Almost 1,000 on ruled as the king of demons. Many generations that demon slayers failed to stop him and its overwhelming power. But all it took was one mistake to change everything when Muson killed Hydro Stanley and turned Esco into a demon yet. No idea that he just unleashed his greatest fear back into the world, because unknown to even Time Zero, his family wasn't exactly normal. They possessed power. That not even though She-Ra knew about this, all began about 500 years ago during the golden age of demon slayers, who was called this because he is She-Ra back then with his strongest in history. Each of them manifested, a demon slayer, mark a sign of awakened, abilities and the pinnacle of defense length, and the only became this strong, thanks to one man, Yurichisuji Kud, the strongest demon slayer to ever live. Seriously, this guy was built different. Instead of manifesting his deepest layer mark, he was born with one as an infant. He could see the transparent world. This pretty much gave him an X-ray vision when it came to other living things along with slow motion perception, and only 7 years old. He easily defeated a master swordsman. That's crazy enough on its own. But what if I told you that this was the very first time he ever lifted a sword? Yeah, before then, his twin brother looked down on him thinking Yorichi was deaf and couldn't speak while you're reaching. It didn't have much to say, although he was this powerful. He didn't really like the idea of hurting others. So we decided not to become a samurai at the age of 10. Yorichi ran away from home, and the way he did, this was even more impressive because he ran for 1 day and 1 night into the mountains without stopping, and wasn't tired in the slightest. How dangerous demon slayer training would have been a joke to him. Here he met the girl would eventually be his wife, and for close to 10 years, he hadn't touched a single weapon. But why? Did Yorichi without looking for someone to help deliver his first child like Contro? Haman killed his family. We're not sure if it was Muson himself, but if it was, he really messed up this. The value of a like was the Muson. But instead of answering Luzon in his frustration and fear, but before that, Yorichi wanted to know. Let's play this body apart with tremendous force of the 1,800 pieces of flesh Yorichi, and those milliseconds then she could about 1,500 of them. Sadly, those remaining pieces were just enough for moves on to regenerate with, and so he survived from being odd. Busan was so terrified of Yorichi. She, the greatest demon slayer, they never showed himself to him again, actively avoiding the sun breather soon. After that, Yorichi's life fell apart. His twin brother, jealous of his siblings' superior abilities, became a demon together with Goku. Shibao moves on, made it his mission to ensure that sun breathing wouldn't survive with the ages, like killing all its users. In fact, this one encounter force moves on to change his entire business model. Instead of handling things himself, he just had his minions do his bidding, as he kept the entirely away for the demon slayers. That's why Time's Road Discovery moves on, and the crowd was such a big deal that even the Hashira were shocked by it. Yorichi also spared the demon Tomatillo after these events. Yorichi's fellow demon slayers completely turned against him. Not only was he kicked out of the organization, some believed he should even kill himself. After that, Yorichi was all alone, eventually wanting to talk to someone here, and I were just friends to me, Yoshi. And so Yako Times Rose ancestors that he saved from a demon in the past. Yorichi told Sumiyoshi the tragic story of his life, and being as kind-hearted as his future descendants Hunter. Oh, Sumiyoshi was deeply moved by it, and being with them brought the gentle swordsman Yorichi to tears that day while you was with them and their children. Chondros. Super Great Grandma made up a song about wanted to see his sword forms, so he showed them all. 13 forms. First form, dance. The user moves their arm down with a single curve. Second form, clear blue sky. The user spins for a 360 sly bird. Form, raging sun. The user swings 2 big circles around themselves to hit any enemies coming towards that fourth form. Burning bones, summer sun. The user creates a spiraling to protect themselves from frontal attacks. Fifth form, setting, sun transformation. If the user backflips up followed by 8, downward decapitating 6, form solar heat haze. The user rushes with a heat-surrounded sword that makes a length and location of the blade difficult for the target to gauge. 7 form, beneficent radiance. These are jumps in the air with a swirling of 4/8 form, sunflower thrust, a powerful thrust that used the tip of the blade to strike 9 form, Dragon Sun Halo, dance the user performs. A series of consecutive slashes that can decapitate multiple targets, 10 form. Fire Wheel. The user flips up behind the target ahead of quickly. Clean their sword in a circle to split a target in 2011 form. Fake Rainbow, the user moves rapidly enough degree. Evasive after images that even work on those with incredible senses, 12th form Flame Dance, a vertical slash that leads to a horizontal one, and the mysterious 13th form, the endless performance of the previous 12, that because more accurate and swift with each continuous use, this form was perfectly created to destroy Muson and his 7 hearts and 5 brains. Now you're reaching an intensity. She early common old son breathing at all. But Tundra, Super Grandpa, was so moved by your EG story that he decided to never forget. You reach his otherworldly performance. When you reach, he gave them the Hanafuda, hearings his mother made for him as a child. The Commodores knew they'd never see him again, moved to tears by their friend's departure and truly believing him to be a man of incredible worth. Tsuyoshi would foul-tip a sea Russia, sun breathing at earrings down to future generations, something that made Yurichi incredibly happy. For hundreds of years, becoming a family would live as charcoal burners in the same location, and for just as long they perform and pass down the hit Okami Kagura, a dance that secretly toss up. Breathing to every comma, do male. And because X-Row had 3 younger brothers, there could have been for son breathers. If they survived Handro's father Tandur, wasn't a demon slayer, but he was incredibly powerful. We are talking Hashira level here with just the swing of an accident is ailing body puncher. Mention decapitate. An abnormally big man-eating bear was even crazier is that the deceased Handro's dad wasn't a disease. At all in reality like Yorichi, he was born with a Slayer mark and could see into the transparent world. But those who work in the mark are said to die before the age of 25 without exception, except that's not really true. It's the reason he Golden Age of Demon Slayers came crashing down, but Yorichi actually lived to be over 80 years old either way. With 6 kids, Tantra Dad, was sure to make the most of the life he had. But listen, if he became a Demon Slayer, he could have been the strongest one since your reach. Teaching. And although his son Tundra was never exactly their strongest, his resemblance Yurichi was absolutely horrific. In the eyes of Luzon, at some point moves on, discovered the Combo family, son, breathing secret, and decided to go after them personally. But unlike your typical demon attack, none of Hondro's family members were eaten instead, in hopes of creating a demon that could withstand the sun that he could absorb. Busan gave each of them a dose of this poisonous blood which ultimately killed them. He didn't realize. Vanessa was a demon because unlike other demons, she was influence. Although she never learned the, Kami Kagura as a Kamadu no Zuko. Instead of becoming Busan's subject, became a demon queen in her own. Right besides later developing sun, resistance, this was blood demon art generated pink flames that only brought harm to demons, the setting from several generations of some breeders. He calmed the family. Stop being your average humans. If there was nothing special about them. A little never suspected that he'd be able to overcome his weaknesses, sunlight, which both Hunt-Ro and Nesco did actually manage to do as demons in the world of Demon Slayer. When a person is on the brink of death, they may have sudden memories of the past or even meet with those in the afterlife and be case of Time's Row. This allowed him to recall and the use of his father's teachings against ruin, even using It'll Calm because Iran to decapitate I desire of the upper moons at this time. Tantra was still performing a bunch of unnecessary, it's which limited his damage potential, but when he was infected by mutons, poison Tantra experiences ancestors, memories of Yorichi, and this not only taught him how to use sun breathing more accurately, but also the secret 13th, Warm Tantra, would admit that he was nowhere near his father's, let alone Yorichi's capabilities. So his use of sun. Breathing was a lot weaker, but seeing it still really frustrated Luce on either way. Tundra was still just a child and had only learned the completed forms, a few seconds beforehand. So the King of Demons wasn't too worried, but when he realized that additional factors will make him weaker and slower, the danger of Tantra movements began to set in. Now, when it comes to breathing styles, the creation or modification of a form is a big deal. And incredibly difficult to pull off, yet Times Row actually managed to do this. I recalling it needs a signature thunderclap and flash technique. Combining this with the first form of sun-breathing tundra created the dead. We've lots by inhaling major amounts of oxygen and increasing the flow of blood throughout the body and concentrating it on the legs. He was able to move at exchange fees to deliver a flaming, and this was brilliant because both techniques were the first forms of the respective breathing styles, and remember Yorichi created both of them. But sadly, it looks like flame breathing, maybe dead in the future because Hydro's Hanafuda, earrings have been hung up, and the story of the demons. Leia's is more like an old folk tale in the modern era. He doesn't seem like the, Cam, because Hernandez has been passed on to Tundra's descendants in a world without demons. It's not really needed, but I think having it remained a cultural dance would have been really cool. We've also got plenty of really cool Demon Slayer videos for you to enjoy. and even more on the way. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe and share the like. I love you all.